up the hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number 2. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday night at 7 p.m. That means it's time for one thing as we get ready for Monday Night Raw. It is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. I am OM Dynamic. I am back tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to apologize for last week. It was a show I should not have even attempted with my health. But we're back tonight, ready to do a much better job. So let's jump right into it, shall we? We do have a lot to unpack for tonight, but a lot to unpack from last week as we started off with Bron Breakker absolutely destroying the announce table, throwing a temper tantrum, basically acting like a little child. But it really did set the theme of the night and maybe the tone for everything for the Vision on the way and the road to WrestleMania. We did have Bron Breakker come out here and call out Adam Pearce, blaming him for drawing number 2 in the Royal Rumble and getting him set up to be quickly eliminated, saying he was then going to hijack Raw, screw the WWE, screw Adam Pearce, and screw the WWE Universe. Paul Heyman then gets on the mic, and even while he's trying to do his regular intro, he is met with a chorus of boos, which is not something you see or hear from very often with Paul Heyman. We get a lot of people often repeating and copying his intro as the fans. But this did devolve. Bron Breakker did grab the mic again. Or Paul Heyman did tell him that number 2 is worse than drawing number 1 in the Royal Rumble. Told everybody to Google it. And then also said that Adam Pearce has to check every visa. So who is the masked man that attacked Bron Breakker at the Royal Rumble? At which point, we did get Bron Breakker grabbing the mic and calling out Adam Pearce, to which Adam Pearce responds, "Aren't you tired? Aren't you embarrassed? Blah, 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 blah." I'm not a big fan of this. I like the fact that Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce have taken this sort of neutral approach to their locker room despite the chaos. This is now, for me, starting to go back to the days of Eric Bischoff and Teddy Long bickering with their talent, be them heels or baby faces. This just didn't do a lot for me. Adam Pearce did then turn around and suggest that Adam Theory could have been the guy behind the mask again, which we all know it wasn't, but he did get Bron Breakker questioning and looking at Austin. At which point, we did get LA Knight coming out as well. And he made an attack. Oh, that's right. Bron Breakker started to go up the ramp at Adam Pearce. I forgot about that because I was trying to get to the next part of this segment. with Bronson Reed and other members of the Vision trying to hold him back, when all of a sudden LA Knight's music hits. And he jumps the ring, attacking Logan Paul and Austin Theory with the chair. Afterwards, we did get Paul Heyman. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, so we do get another Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce segment in a little bit, but I digress. We're going to move on to Javon Evans and El Grande Americano. A match that had been stopped the previous week due to Javon Evans getting injured with a potential concussion. Now, as I said, full credit to the doctors the week before for stopping the match, pulling Javon to make sure that he was okay. I am okay with that. When a wrestler's health is involved, we don't need things getting made worse. This was a great match all around. It was high flying. It was technical. It was a little bit of everything. And for those of you that don't know, I'm not the biggest lucha fan. But I do have Mr. Best coming in here saying, good evening, broski. Good evening to you, Mr. Best. I cannot wait to check out Raw with you. I do have some clarification on tonight's Elimination Chamber matches, but we will get to that in just a little while. This match did wind up in a bit of a kerfuffle because as soon as El Grande Americano went to put the lead plate into his mask, his music hit again, and we got the original El Grande Americano coming out to cause the distraction. This did allow Javon Evans to hit his cutter and pick up the victory. This was a fantastic match. And ladies and gentlemen, Javon Evans has arrived. If he is not solidly in the mid-card picture, I'm going to say by SummerSlam, to give it a few months, let him develop, find his place on the roster. But if he is not in that spot by SummerSlam, then I don't know what they're doing. We then had Gunther come out. Gunther came out to AJ Styles music and really, really send the crowd off. This we all know I'm not a big fan of the fact that Gunther retired AJ at the Royal Rumble. I wanted AJ to have a little bit longer run, but that was AJ's choice. And I still don't agree with this direction for Gunther. I believe he and the WWE have now painted him into a corner to this being all he can do. He then listed off Gunther, Goldberg, John Cena, AJ, and he referred to himself as the career killer. You're not killing careers when these guys want to retire, buddy. So give your head a shake, pull it out of your ass, Gunther, and get yourself back to doing what you do best. But this resulted in Dragon Lee coming out and jump-starting a fight with Gunther as well. And why? We've seen it. The small guy versus Gunther, David versus Goliath, whatever. It's not something I need to see time and again. Yes, Gunther is an imposing figure, and there's not many people who are equal to him or bigger than him in terms of sheer size. But it can't just be the luchadors and the little guys constantly punching above their weight and going after Gunther. This is, again, just painting Gunther into a corner and now raising a lot of questions because he did try to tear Dragon Lee's mask off in the ropes. So people are asking, is this a sign of things to come? Is he going after a luchador next? And I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I do not want Gunther versus Ray for Ray's career. I'm not a fan of the family versus family dynamic, but I want that to be Ray and Dom. Make it a mask versus title at Triple Mania this year for AAA for Ray to go out in front of the AAA and the Hispanic Mexican crowd. Please. That is what would make the most sense. We then get a video recap of LA Knight's return at the Rumble and what happened, why he missed so much time from the Vision taking him out back in December. And this is where we get the next Paul Heyman, Adam Pearce interaction. And Paul Heyman comes up and says, "You're going to make a match. You are going to make Braun Breaker versus LA Knight tonight." And Adam Pearce said, "I can't do it." Paul Heyman questioned, "What do you mean?" And Adam Pearce said, "I just escorted him from the building. He disrupted my show, and if you were smart, you would escort Braun Breaker from the building as well." And then told Paul to go tell Bronson Reed to get ready because he had a match with Penta. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue on, please take a look at how you can help us.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, a potential collaboration, or just to help us out behind the scenes, turnbucklestudios.org is the home of the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Hit the join button, send us your credentials via email, tell us how you can help us, how you believe we can help you, and we will sit down as a collective and figure out the best fit. Turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Up next, we had a bit of a surprise as we got the War Raiders on our screen, which is not something that we've come to expect recently because they're there and they disappear. They showed up ready for tag team action, all for Obafemi, who made his debut in the Royal Rumble at the number 1 spot, to come out and absolutely lay waste to them. Look, I'm all for establishing a guy as a dominant presence. And I'm not one for saying, you should have given him 2 or 3 indie enhancement talents from Philadelphia, but to throw guys as solid as the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, War Raiders, to the Wolves, so to speak, and have them just get squashed in what wasn't even a match was just sheer stupidity. I am not a fan of this segment at all. I think you could have had somebody bigger. You could have done a one-on-one. You could have even had it be a 2-on-1 handicap match with the War Raiders versus Oba. At least have the bell ring, not just have him go in there and absolutely squash them. The War Raiders are top tier talent and deserve so much better. We then got a Finn Balor promo where we heard him talking, but it was really the camera looking at him, and he was talking about the business he grew up in, built on respect. And everywhere he's been, from the independents to NXT to the main roster, he has tried to give it and offer it, but has never truly received it back. Again, ladies and gentlemen, is this just more of the same whiny Finn Balor, who literally went out 2 weeks earlier and had an amazing, amazing match against CM Punk in his hometown, in his home country, all to throw a handshake, which is a sign of respect, a hug, and a hand raise back in everybody's face. But he did go on to say he's been showing up and showing out his entire career, yet he was still held out of the Royal Rumble. And he wants it all. And I don't blame him. I am good with that. But what are we doing here, folks? This is Finn Balor. Now you're trying to put him into this same... Is he the new Raw underdog from the Underground? Are Finn Balor and Sami Zayn on an equal plane, so to speak, in their respective brands? I really, really hope not. I like both men, do not get me wrong. Finn Balor probably should have been given a shot 5 to 6 years ago and another opportunity to run with the title, especially after having had to vacate it a night after he won it because of the torn shoulder. And I know that that was a number of years ago, but he should have been given that opportunity to make up for it. Up next, we got the Bella Twins. And okay, we all know I'm not the biggest fan. Nobody here at the TAP really is the biggest fan of the Bellas. But we had Nikki turn heel just a few months ago. All of a sudden, she's back to being a babyface because Brie came back at the Royal Rumble. And now they want to go after the women's tag team championships. They want to take the tag team division by force. Really, this is not something that was necessary. Brie did come out and say, yes, I'm glad to be home. And happy to be back. She's finally home. And wondering why come back now. She didn't make any mention of her kids. Look, I'm okay for this if they do have a tag run. You don't need to put the tag titles on them just because they're Hall of Famers. you can get them into, let's make it a 4-way at WrestleMania, but you don't need to get the titles onto them. Up next, very, very intriguing match, and I really thought this was going to go another way. We had Penta versus Bronson Reed. As we discussed, this match had come about earlier in the night. This, again, ladies and gentlemen, a great, great match. You had the high-flying energy of Penta, the luchador. You had the sheer power and agility of Bronson Reed. These two mesh so well together in the ring. This was a great, great match. We did have Penta win the match because even after being escorted from the building, and we did see interference from the Vision, we did see Logan Paul and Austin Theory try and take out Penta. But while the ref was distracted, we saw LA Knight come in, who, like I said, even though he'd been escorted from the building, came in and he laid out Penta with a BFT onto a chair on the outside, causing a count out. I am not a big fan of count out victories and losses. Really, I wish they were not a thing. Or you have to increase the 10 count. I know that the refs have had a great cadence on that in the last number of years. Very, very consistent. And I am okay with that. But to get this, and this again to me goes back to the Adam Pearce segment. Was LA Knight the masked man at the Royal Rumble taking out Braun Breaker? Was it somebody else? But this again goes back to the Eric Bischoff, Teddy Long era of barking at the heels or faces and for Adam Pearce. And I just don't need that. I want that impartiality. I want the straight up, no nonsense, no favorites type of thing. Then we go to a package for Raquel Rodriguez and Stephanie Vaquer because that is coming up very, very shortly. But we got a returning Dirty Dominic Mysterio coming out to the ring to introduce his girlfriend, the love of his life, however he wants to spin it, and the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble for 2026, Liv Morgan. So Liv Morgan comes out and she says, "Who am I challenging? I don't know. I'm going to go to SmackDown this Friday. You guys are going to have to wait to see who I am going to challenge." At which point, Raquel comes out to get ready for her street fight against Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. And Raquel told Liv to stay in the back and let her have her fight. So we go to that street fight, and this was a fantastic match, ladies and gentlemen. I love women's wrestling. This, for me, was probably the match of the night. And I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I had Raquel picked to win. I'm not going to deny it. I wanted Raquel to win because I wanted to answer, if Raquel wins the title, does Liv challenge her or does Liv go after Jade to bring more gold to the Judgment Day? And you know what? That is a question that I would have wanted answered. I think we probably would have gotten our answer last Monday had Raquel won the match. But due to interference, even though she asked them to stay in the back, both Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan got involved, and it cost Raquel. As she did suffer these, I believe it was a spiral tap through the table. But then Liv did come out, or did get back in there and proceeded to beat down Stephanie Vaquer before posing with the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. So I think that's the way we're leaning, but I don't know. I'm very, very intrigued. The other thing is that before she got injured prior to Evolution, she was setting up something potentially with Nikki Bella. Do we go to the Judgment Day, whether it's Raquel and Roxanne, Liv and Raquel versus the Bellas? Do we go back to a 6-woman tag when we know that Nikki turned on Stephanie to turn heel? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope that they don't involve the Bellas in this situation. Maybe you continue on with the Rio teaming with Stephanie and watching her back for this. We are then told that tonight we are going to get a World Tag Team Championship match when the Usos put their titles on the line against Alpha Academy. But I will get into that again here in just a few minutes. Because then we got our answer. We got the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns came out and made his decision. He announced who he was going to be facing. Talking about his ups and downs in the city of Philadelphia. Talking about having won a championship there on his daughter's birthday, having lost the championship in Philadelphia at WrestleMania, winning his first Royal Rumble in Philly, now coming out. Didn't get very far into it, hadn't even made his decision when he's interrupted by CM Punk. And I'm okay with this because CM Punk is your World Heavyweight Championship and wanted to know if Roman was choosing him or if Roman was going after Drew. But Punk really stepped into it because before even addressing Roman, he grabbed the mic, looked at the camera, and called out Finn Balor because of Finn's attack the previous week in his match with AJ Styles. And Punk, yeah, dumb move. And Roman right on him, calling him out, saying, what, did you hurt your head because you're coming out here calling out Finn Balor during my portion of the show? They went back and forth. Great verbal sparring between the two of them. Punk going into Roman's history of being a part-timer. They both spoke quite a bit about Drew McIntyre in the segment as well. which really wasn't necessary because they were both putting him down and saying, I'm not facing him. But Roman, to his credit, said, you think Drew is the easy way out? No. And he even said, gave Drew credit for his size, his physicality. So I am going to give Roman Reigns credit there. Punk did call it out saying, was it you or was it you and the bloodline taking out Drew? So like I said, this was great back and forth. I think this segment took a little bit longer than it probably needed to, but it did wind up with Roman saying, I don't like you. I hate you. And that is why I'm choosing you. And it's funny because, you know, they are doing the voices of the Zebros in Zootopia 2 together. But it's very, very, very intriguing. So we are getting Roman Reigns and CM Punk at WrestleMania. No question, that is your main event night 2. Absolutely no question. So not only did CM Punk main event WrestleMania last year, in all likelihood, it is going to be CM Punk and Roman Reigns this year. But let's not forget Finn Balor. We do have the Elimination Chamber coming up, so are we going to go to Finn Balor versus CM Punk in Chicago? Does that elevate WrestleMania then to a triple threat match if Balor wins? Or do we get Roman versus Balor? If Punk wins and barely sneaks out the victory, do we go to the triple threat? Ladies and gentlemen, all that and more. We're going to have some more answers coming up tonight. But before I go and preview what we're going to get tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please take a look at these.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show Turnbuckle Talk at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we go TNA as we brace for Impact at 9 p.m. On Fridays, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later that night, we have the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day. And please visit turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Meet the hosts, the team, Mr. Chris Best, Carl Carafel, Bubba Duke, Chris Parrish, and myself. Get our socials and watch our latest weekly live episodic shows. And head over to our shop. Support your favorite shows. Support your favorite podcasters. Wear what we wear. All of those proceeds come back into our studios to give you a better experience. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I have 4 matches so far announced. We have 5. We are going to get the Usos versus the Alpha Academy for the World Tag Team Championships. Last week was the first time we've seen Jimmy Uso on Raw in quite some time, and we know that he is almost ready to become a dad again, as Naomi is due to give birth really any time now. Are we surprised that the Alpha Academy can walk out with the tag team titles tonight? I'm going to say yes. I think that this is something that the Usos need to do unless you're going to really turn one of them if they lose. And in this case, I think you have to turn Jay if they lose. I hope not. Look, Akira Tozawa and Otis are fantastic as a comedy act. Unfortunately, I don't see them as a credible threat for the tag team championships. Love them as individual performers. Even as a team, they are great. They are entertaining. I don't think they are a credible threat. Give this one up for the Usos. Have them retain. Unless Jay absolutely snaps and turns on Jimmy. We have what is going to be a teacher versus student match, and something that was set up a couple of weeks ago when Natty turned on Maxine, and we are going to get that match tonight on Raw. Maxine Dupri is the most improved wrestler in the women's division since Liv Morgan. I'm standing on that hill. But we're going to get that new vicious Natty. And is this something that we need? Yes. I'm going to give this one right to Natty. I expect Maxine to get in some, but I expect this to be a little bit closer to a squash match. I think Natty is going to go in there and do what she has to do. Where she said last week, Natalya elevates, Natty decimates. I think we get Natty. I think we get the woman from Bloodsport. I think we get the woman who goes into AAA. We're not going to get Natalya. And I'm good with that. This is something that we have been wanting to see, and I'm good with it. So, I do think Maxine's going to get a little bit in, but I think that Natty is going to walk on this one. Women's Elimination Chamber qualifier. We did not know what was going to happen. And the 2 Elimination Chamber matches are going to be really, really tough to call for the qualifiers. One half of our Women's World Tag Team Champions, Rhea Ripley, will go in there against Lyra Valkyria and Ivy Nile in a triple threat match. Wow. For me, this comes down to Ivy and Lyra. Rhea has enough to focus on with the Women's Tag Team Championships. We know that Bayley and Lyra want to get themselves into contention for that. But I do think, and I'm going to go with this, I think that you are going to see Lyra Valkyria going to the Elimination Chamber. Ivy wants a part of Maxine. She hasn't made a big deal over the Intercontinental Championship since Becky regained it, but I think that that's where her focus is set. I'm going to give this one to Lyra, though Ivy would be a good possibility because you do have one half of the Women's World Tag Team Champions and you do have one half of another tag team in there that really want to get to that title match. And in the men's, 3 men with history. 2 men have it out for 1. Penta will take on LA Knight, and Austin Theory in the other Elimination Chamber qualifier. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic we are going to discuss tomorrow night on Turnbuckle Talk has to deal with Braun Breaker. Though don't be surprised if they mention that he could be out tonight on Raw. Does Austin Theory become that guy to fill Braun Breaker's shoes in this position? No, I think that this one becomes a situation of both LA Knight and Penta, I said, have history with the Vision. I'm going to actually give this one to Penta, put Penta into the chamber, because I think when it comes to the Vision, LA Knight is seeing red, whether it's Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman, now Austin Theory. I think that LA Knight is just going to be focused on laying out Austin Theory. He's not going to be as worried or as focused on Penta until a pinfall attempt. But ladies and gentlemen, give me Penta tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to head on over to the Raw Patrol, I would like to remind everybody that the world is better with you in it. From all of us here at the Locker Room Breakdown and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there wherever you are. Good night, good luck, I'm out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey teams, can't deny. His best friend to shut the hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number 2. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader.